Hey team, it's Conrad Tracey, addiction coach from Melbourne, Australia. I'm so glad you're here and I'm going to teach you everything that you need to not only survive, but thrive this silly season. So let's get stuck into it. Guys, I'm so glad that you're here. And when you leave, you're going to have every tool that you need to make sure that this Christmas is the most successful one that you've had so far. Now, in terms of what we're going to cover today, I'm going to help you to recognize and handle triggers, especially through tough family dynamics. We're going to teach you to set boundaries and help you to communicate without conflict. I'm going to teach you how to socialize without drugs and alcohol and still have fun, and how to reframe Christmas for simplicity, connection, and real joy. So identify, communicate, plan, reframe, and commit. Now, the first thing that we need to figure out what to do or how to do is to deal with family members, triggers, and what I call the creepy uncle. So I've put a couple of examples in here and you can download this PDF. So it's in the comments of this video, and there's also a whole bunch of free trainings attached to it, which will really, really help you. So I think in the identifying section, we have to figure out what's going to trigger us, who's going to trigger us, why it's such a big trigger for us, what the worst case scenario is, and what the win might be. So I've just put a couple of examples in here. I've said what or who, the pusher. So the person who's constantly pushing you to drink or take drugs or to do things that you don't want to do. And their classic line is, oh, it's Christmas, why don't you just live a little? The creepy uncle. And you know, the classic thing is like, mate, my eyes are up here. It's like we've all got one of those pervy uncles in the family. The other one is the chaos agent. So these people love stirring the pot. They just get into family situations and they love drama and they love chaos and bullshit. Okay, so we have to figure out who they are. And also the critic or the underminer. And this is a really, really strong character in families. They might say, oh, you know, you've put on a little bit of weight, or you're still struggling with that. And if you're watching this, I'm sure that you know who that person is in your family. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go through and write your list. Okay, so what and who are the biggest triggers for you this Christmas, and why? You know, I might get triggered by my uncle because he's just done that over and over and over again. And I get triggered by the chaos agent because they're always trying to include me in their drama, or the critic because I constantly feel less than, and I don't want to feel that way at Christmas. Now, the worst case scenario, and this is really important to do this, is to make sure that you write out what will happen if you don't handle this well. You might get into conflict, you might get into arguments, you might cause more stress or chaos, you might get triggered, you might drink, you might feel resentment. We have to figure out what is the worst case scenario. So if I don't deal with the pusher who's like triggering me because they're always trying to get me to drink, the worst case scenario is that I'm going to, you know, break my sobriety. Okay. So we have to really get super clear on the worst case scenario. And then I want you to go and put the wins in. So if I can deal with all of these people, I can get through our Christmas without drinking. I can not have to deal with my creepy uncle because I'm just going to avoid him and talk to him before he's had 15 drinks. I'm going to strategically place myself so I don't have to deal with the chaos agent. I'm going to keep my interactions with the critic and the underminer really short and sharp and have some responses planned out. So I want you to picture yourself coming out of Christmas getting through all of those environmental and situational triggers with success. So we're setting ourselves up, we're thinking about who's going to trigger us, why, what the worst case scenario or worst outcome is going to be, and how we're going to win. And that's really, really important. So let's move on. So we've talked about identify. The next thing is how to communicate and set boundaries around Christmas and holidays. So we have to figure out what we won't do, what we will do, who we need to communicate with, positive and negative, and when we need to do it. So I've just put some examples in again, and I want you to take this PDF and I want you to put pen to paper and make sure that you do this work yourself. So I've said, I won't drink to fit in. I won't stay in uncomfortable environments. I won't overbook myself. I won't absorb drama. I won't engage in topics that create shame. But I will bring alcohol-free alternatives. I will step outside and reset if I get overwhelmed. I will set time limits and say no to people and events that aren't going to serve me. I will protect my emotional state, and I will redirect or shut down conversations that are heading in the wrong direction. Now, who we need to do this with, anyone who pressures us to do anything that we don't want to do, high conflict family members, you know who they are. Anyone who places a guilt trip, and anybody who is an interrogator or a critic, or they are boundary blind. So they've got zero boundaries. And On the positive tip, I also want you to figure out who are the positive people and identify them as well. Because what you want to be doing is spending as much time with this crew as humanly possible. Okay. And you know how people congregate, you know where all of the groups sit. So, where am I placing myself? Who am I spending time with? In a 3 hour party, I'm going to have 6 conversations for 15 minutes each with these people that I really like and respect. And in terms of communication, it's really important, and I'll teach you more about this in a minute, that we know when to do it. And the thing that I think is critically important is that we have to communicate before the event, during the event, and after the event. I've made you a great text to send to some people to take that pressure off off you to drink and take drugs, which I'll give to you in a minute. And during the event, we have to be constantly reaffirming to ourselves and to others that we are on a path. No thanks, I'm not drinking. You know what? It's the best I've ever felt. And just continually going through that during an event. And then afterwards, if you have an interaction with somebody and it goes really well and they congratulated you and they got around you and they supported you, shooting them a text and going, hey, it was so great to see you. I thank you so much for supporting me and being a champion for me. And you know what? Let's not wait until next Christmas. Why don't we go and have a coffee or catch up or do something with the kids? So this is critically important. What aren't you going to do or won't you do? What will you do? Who are you going to do it with? And when do you need to communicate your boundaries during Christmas and the holidays? Now, this is important. As part of our community, December and the lead up to New Year's is a huge piece of kit for us. So we have sessions like the preloaded year, the holiday reset. We have how to survive the silly season. We have New Year, New You. So instead of having a December that's filled with events like this that are triggering and hard to deal with and stressful, our community have things that are inspiring, motivating, and keep them absolutely on point and on track. Now, I've just sketched out from the 19th of December, which I think is like a Friday. Again, you've got this. I want you to print it out and I want you to sketch this out for yourself. You might have a work Christmas party on the 19th. The weekend might be last minute shopping. I don't know how organized you guys are. Then you've got Christmas Eve. And then on Christmas Day, some people have up to 3 events that they have to attend, which I think is crazy. But that's, another kind of 3 things that you need to plan and figure out. Then you've got Boxing Day, huge in my family. I know some people go to the cricket and do all kinds of things. And then we've got this break between the 27th and the 30th, which is like, what do I do now that I'm not at work? And typically what people do is just they sit and drink and take drugs, or they make the most of it and connect with their kids. Then you've got the big one, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, then this period of contemplation and planning, or this period of feeling sorry for yourself and going, oh my God, I can't believe I just went through another year of the same shit. And you'll see there on the 5th of January, we have New Year, New You, just to get everybody really, really reset. But most people, 98% of the people in our community get through this period with absolute energy. They've learned how to plan and reset. So if you do this calendar and there is no breaks, there is no gaps, there is no space, so you've got something on every day. That's the first place that you've got to start. You've got to go through, you've got to prioritize, you've got to figure out what you actually want to do, what is critically important, what you can say no to, where you can create space, and figure out how to lighten your load, because you're going to be in absolute overwhelm. And then you have to figure out how to successfully socialize without drugs and alcohol with the events that you do have to attend. So it might be the work Christmas party, Christmas Eve, 3 events on Christmas, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. My gosh, right? If you can get through that, you are an amazing human being. And I've got a whole bunch of tools that are going to make it much easier for you. So my first tip is to say no. Try and decrease the events by 50%. I'm not going to a single Christmas party this year. I have Boxing Day with my family. It is at my home. It is between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. It will not go any longer. I do not go to a New Year's Eve celebration. New Year's Day, I'm going to be spending practicing my New Year's ritual, which is getting into fresh water, right? Maybe up in Warrandyte or somewhere beautiful in Victoria to start the new year. So that's what you can do, or you can do what everybody else does, which is pack in days, overwhelm, have no plan, and just make it out the other end tired, stressed, and really hungover. Do the calendar and make sure you can see what's in front of you, because what do they say? Preparation prevents piss poor performance, I think is the adage. Now, here's a script. I want you to know that I've put this in, I think I've got a training there. Yeah, you can download it. Okay, so you can take this and you can practice it. You have to make it sound like yourself. Okay. So, hey, Conrad, here, have a drink, have a drink, have a drink, have a drink. Mate, I've made the decision not to drink anymore. It doesn't serve me, and I find that I'm a better friend without it. I'd be happy to chat more about it as we get to know one another. That's a start. You might change up a few bits and pieces. In a personal context, you already probably know the person. So that might work in more in a professional context. But you have to figure out what your version of this is. And I always say to my participants and my clients, you've got to have a boardroom version and a locker room version. So one of the ones that I really like is I've made the decision not to drink anymore, and I've never felt better in my life. In that workshop, in that communication script, I break down why these statements are so valuable and why you should use them and how they resonate or how other people hear them. Okay, so there's some deep psychology around this stuff. But the thing is very important, I want you to remember this, is that I want you to say your statement. Okay, so you might be sitting in a context of, two people, and they might be, have a drink, have a drink, have a drink. I want you to say your statement, right? And then the next thing that you need to do is you need to ask them a question about themselves. So the thing that is critically important is that you say, I'm not drinking. This is why I'm better for it. And then, hey, how's the kids? How's your footy team? How's the weather? Like deflect straight away, because the thing that people love doing it more than anything in the world is talking about themselves. If you've got these prepared, it will really, really help. Click the link, download it, learn about it, and write your personal professional scripts and do a locker room version and a boardroom version to help you. Now, this one is really, really good. Remember before I said, when do we need to start setting boundaries? And the thing that is critical is that you've got to do it preemptively. Wow, we're being super generous here. There's another free training called the Successful Socializing 3-Step. Now, that is in our curriculum, and it is the most thorough training for people who are leading busy lives on how to successfully socialize without drugs and alcohol, how to deal with travel, how to deal with lounges, how to deal with airplanes, how to deal with hotels, how to deal with social situations, corporate meetings. That will teach you so much. But I wanted you to have this text, so you can copy this out or you can just write it into your phone. Hey, name, can't wait to catch up on Boxing Day, right? Just a quick heads up. I'll be skipping the drinks or the, Coke at this event. It's something that's really important to me, and I know you've got my back. Okay, so super excited to see you and other people. It's going to be great. So if you can get this off to the people that you know that might put pressure on you, even unknowingly, before you go into these events, it's a really good idea. Don't put anything discriminating or what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean. Don't talk about your drug use in these texts, but just be clear, right? So I hope this helps, and remember, clearly communicating before the event is critically important, and this training in here will teach you everything that you need to know. Now, let's keep on moving, and we're going really quickly, but this is important. This is one of the most critical things that you need to be able to do, which is, how do you get back to the true essence of Christmas? How do you reframe it? Now, I want you to think about Christmas as a 10-year-old, Christmas last year, and then Christmas this year. So I've just put some notes in, and again, you go and do it yourself, but you might come up with words like, when I was 10, Christmas was fun, there was presents, there was family, there was songs, toys, excitement, friends, games, and laughter. And, last year was different. I was tired, I was exhausted, I was stressed, had a real lack of presence. I felt like everything was an obligation. There were heaps of arguments and there was lots of tension. And then I want you to write in the 2005 tree, what would you like Christmas to be like this year? Again, we are forward planning, we are setting intention, we are building identity, and we are figuring out what a good result looks like. So this is very, very important. You might say, I want some peace, connection, laughter, time, relaxation, you know, planning, whatever it is for you. But I guarantee you that the 10-year-old version is a great place to start. And that's what people lose. Okay? They lose the true essence of Christmas. One of the most beautiful things I ever heard is I worked with a guy, came down from Sydney, did a VIP day with me, very successful. And I said, what's celebration to you? And he said, champagne and oysters. And I thought that was, pretty funny. And he said, I work so hard. And I said, who are you working hard for? And he's like, oh, I work hard for my family, my kids. I'm like, cool. So you work hard for your family, you provide for them, but then you write yourself off and that's what they get. That's their reward. And he's like, oh yeah, it doesn't really make sense. And I said, well, cool. He was lucky. He had a holiday home somewhere in the countryside. And I said, mate, can you ask your kids what they want to do next time there's a celebration, next time you hit your goals or your KPIs or whatever it is. And all they said was that they wanted to be dancing and have joy and laughter and family and be at the holiday house and do activities and play hide and seek and, do all of the cool things that are actual, truly fun. We get so distracted with all of the modern day stuff. So do this for yourself. And if you're still feeling a little bit lost, go and ask your kids and maybe let them lead Christmas this year, because I guarantee it'll be a lot more fun. Now, guys, I want to do a little bit of a recap. Okay. So at the top, I said to you, we're going to help you to do a number of things, right? So what we've done today is we've talked about how to create boundaries, really, right? How to identify the things that are going to trigger you, how to communicate and set boundaries around all of those things, how to successfully socialize without drugs and alcohol and plan your Christmas. And I've given you some great tools. So the communication scripts, free download, texts for leading up to the events, free training on how to successfully socialize, and hopefully helped you to reconnect to the true essence of Christmas. So guys, like I said, people in our communities, this is what we do. We don't fail at Christmas. We don't fall down. We don't have to reset. We don't sit there on New Year's Day going, oh my God, I did it again. We're all heading into the new year with absolute momentum. We've all planned out the first quarter of 2026. We all know what the holidays are going to look like. We all know what the first quarter is going to look like. We all know what December is going to look like and how we're going to successfully navigate it. And that is the beauty of being in a supportive framework, having accountability, having people that are really dynamic, and having the support that you need to actually get through a year and 2 years and 3 years plus without drugs and alcohol. So if you're interested in that, I'd like to invite you to join the Circuit Breaker. Now, we don't do magic pills. We don't do quick fixes. We don't do 7-day resets. Our program's a year long, and that's how long it takes to rebuild your life and rebuild your identity. And it's $149 a week, which is less than you spend on drugs and alcohol. You might say, oh, I just binge. Add up the cost of your binges, add up the cost of the loss of relationships, loss of inaction, loss of presence, loss of dignity. People who do this, they come in, they do it once, they get a really good result. And what I want to do today is offer you a couple of things that we don't usually do. Access to the success roadmap, join the program. You'll have a one-on-one with our client success lead within the first 24 hours. You get 3 one-on-one coaching sessions in the first 90 days, and we will handpick and build the curriculum for you and make sure that you have everything that you need to hit the ground running. If you do the program for 90 days and you show up, so let's say you come in and you do everything and you do it to about, a 50 or 60% completion rate, and you're like, you know what, this is not working for me, I'm not getting results. You can leave and we will part as friends. So if you want to hit 2026 with absolute momentum, no more false starts, no more feeling sorry for yourself, no more broken relationships, no more starting things and not finishing them. Hit the button, join the program. We'll see you on the inside. And if you see this early and want to join during December, you can come to all of the amazing sessions that we're holding. I can't wait to meet you, and hopefully this has been helpful and you have the best silly season that you've had in the last 5 or 10 years. See you later.